Great day, beautiful people. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Time to get it today. Time to get it today. Taco Tuesday. If nothing else, Taco Tuesday. Hey, everybody. Dr. Dominique Reese here, president of Reese Financial Services, where I am the chief financial coach, consultant, and strategist. In today's message, I am beaming, because everything in divine order, and I cannot make this up, which is why I'm glad I've been documenting this journey. I mean, everything in divine order. You don't be knowing stuff in the beginning, and then when you submit, it's revealed. It's just really dope. So I'm going to look at my notes on this one because I don't want to forget. Now, where to begin? It really does work. It really does work. And here's how I know. Yesterday, I was on a podcast. I did a podcast yesterday. And that podcast was as a result of me going live every day. I don't know how he saw me. I don't know how. Pay attention to that. You don't have to know how. A lot of times when we're in a situation and you get a vision or you get your word, you get your assignment, and you're like, how? Let's reverse it using my situation. I don't know how. I just did the assignment and it came. So, a lot of times in our kingdom walks, journeys, there's no such thing as how. Like, how is God's domain? Our domain is what and do. There's no how. There was no how. I just knew I was supposed to go live. And people are like, well, how did you know that? I could share that another time. And I did it. I went live. And as a result of going live every day, someone found me and invited me to their podcast. Now, that happened yesterday. It's done. That is a true example of how my obedience made room for me. And so that's your first example. Being obedient makes room for you. Now, I also got an email yesterday about an opportunity that I submitted myself for. And if you remember from a different video, I have been talking about my skill set and how I know that I'm not using all three E's, the three E's that we use to make money, to create income: our education, our expertise, and our experience. So, this opportunity would allow me to use all three. And I am so excited about it. And I heard back. And it only came about as a result of me going live because someone saw me. I don't know how he saw me. We weren't friends before I went live. Going live brought someone into my life who saw one of my lives and said, hey, I think what you're doing is great. Keep up the good work. That was a good word. Just commented, right? And then I shared some things like, oh, that's pretty interesting work. I would like to do that work. That's work I enjoy doing. And offered to support me in an opportunity. Yet this person doesn't know me, right? I'm going somewhere. And so it made me think, well, let me go check out what he does. So I did. And I fell in love with an opportunity there. Like, oh man, my skill set would kill it in that opportunity. And the work I'm doing now would be amplified. So all about reaching to create impact. And when you create impact, your income increases. So I said, wow, I'm going to go for it. And I wrote my cover letter, and my cover letter got the attention of the next step person. And I have a meeting with the next step person this week. On top of it, the person who I met from going live said, hey, well, let me put in a good word for you with the next step person. Thank you, Father, for favor. Favor, 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 right? That's what that's called. Favor. And so I said, well, this is this is the play. This is the playbook. This is why it is so important that each of us get positioned. Now, I'm going to also say there was another opportunity that I submitted myself for. And I reached out to, because I saw that 3 Princeton alum work at this place. And so I said, well, let me reach out to them and just see like what their experience is at this place. One person responded and was like, sure, let's talk. Yeah. And I was like, great. She's like, yeah, they take a while. I was like, oh, okay, cool. But she then said, well, but let me put in a word for you with the decision maker. And maybe that'll nudge them to reach out to you. Thank you, Father. Okay, so this is like a season, a recurring theme, right? But at the same time, it was the obedience of going live, which was something I didn't understand, something I didn't want to do. And I know better at this point in my journey to really fight it. Like, I've fought things before, and then I had to sacrifice. I don't want to have to sacrifice unless it's sacrificially a part of the role at the time. But I will submit. And so here we are, weeks later. I've been going live for weeks, and things are happening. Going back to being positioned, right? Because you are a blessing to someone else. Like, both of these people are blessings to me. And they are in their position, they are doing their life. But in doing their life, they came across my path where they could then be a blessing to me. And that's where, like, being positioned. So, your position may require you to be obedient. Being obedient makes room for you. I had a lot of room made for me. So, I am encouraging you to not only be obedient and to get aligned with your position, your purpose, right? Because remember how we spend our time. Our time is tied to our service, and our service is tied to our income. So, how we spend our time doing things is essentially tied to how we're showing up, and how we're showing up ideally should be in purpose. And if it is, and it's aligned with His will, you're not going to have to worry about money and income. So, everything in divine order. Let's get in order, right? Part of being in order is being obedient. And this is how powerful it gets for me, at least. I wasn't sure if I was going to share this. I wasn't sure if today was the day that I should share this. I have other things written down to share. I wasn't sure. And here was my verse for devotion this morning. If you keep quiet at a time like this, Deliverance and relief for the Jews will arise from some other place, but you and your relatives will die. Who knows if perhaps you were made queen for just a time as this? Whoa, blow me out the water, Father, because that spoke directly to me. And like, okay, I know I'm supposed to do it today. I know how he gets at me. So for me to read this said everything. Now, because I like to study the word, like I got to get it in more than one version. So I looked up other versions. This comes from Esther chapter 4, verse 14. So I went to the King James Version and it was like a whole nother language, y'all. I couldn't even do it. Too many thous and these and wherefore. I couldn't even get down with it. So thank you, Father, for other versions. The Contemporary English Version said, if you don't speak up now, we will somehow get help, but you and your family will be killed. It could be that you were made queen for a time like this. Okay, understanding. Then the Amplified Version. For if you remain silent at this time, liberation and rescue will arise for the Jews from another place, and you and your father's house will perish, since you did not help when you had the chance. And who knows whether you have attained royalty for such a time as this and for this very purpose. Wow, wow, wow. Hey, P. This puts some things into perspective. It gave me insight on why I've been going live. I have been made for a time like this where I can give even the slightest testimony about what obedience will do for you. When you're obedient, things will happen. The desires of my heart are happening. I'm sure I put that in the live, how I wanted my skill set to do more. I felt like there's more for me to do in a different space, right? Conquering new territory with my skill set. Nevertheless, I didn't know how. Like I didn't really know all the details. And in going live has crossed my paths with people who could support me in my heart's desire, but that was tied to my obedience, right? Being prepared for a time as this. If we're if we're made to manage, right? We are all managers, managing our time, energy, and money, our resources, right? How I've been managing my time, how I've been managing my energy, my money, all of that is my test. He wants to use me. That's how he measures us to be used. Then he'll give you a mandate. He'll give you the mandate. Do this. But why? Okay, now you tripping. Just do it. Okay. Now you can be obedient. Okay, now I can use her. Okay, I can use her. Yes. Yes, P. I can use her. I'm testing her through her management. Now I need to see if I can use her, if she will go where I tell her to go, if she will do what I tell her to do. Obedience. From obedience comes room. Rooms will be made for you, things will be created for you, right? And it's preparation for a time that you don't even know about in the future. But for what reason? To give him the glory, right? That's what our lives are supposed to exemplify. Glory of God's greatness, his majesty, right? So like I'm now testifying of his glory, of how he's been working in me through my obedience and just kind of doing what I'm supposed to do, whether I understand it, have all the details, or whatever. And that's for me, that's normally how it happens. He's not going to reveal everything to me. He doesn't have to. And as I've said before, I don't want to know everything. Less is more. Just practice obedience, Dominique. And in my obedience, practice excellence, right? Because there's a standard. There's a standard to what we do. When you are holy, you are set apart. That's all that means. Like, I can't do everything that everybody do. I got to do things differently. I got to walk a little differently. So it's all good, but I just can't do everything. So it was these different versions that began to give me insight as to, like, man, oh, there's one more. Oh, let me not diss the King James version. Everybody's, wherever you may lay with it. It's another version. But what I appreciated from this version was the last part. Now I'm gonna read it, but it took me. For if thou altogether holdest thy peace at this time, then shall their enlargement and deliverance arise to the Jews from another place. But thou and thy father's house shall be destroyed. And who knoweth whether thou art come to the kingdom for such a time as this? The word kingdom. This is a kingdom walk. Again, you might not be ready for it. It's kingdom though. So if you in the kingdom, you got to walk different. And what you do is purposeful for a time as this. All of the versions have that. For such a time as this. Such a time as this. Such a time as this. A time like this. Such a time such a time as this. So time, everything in divine order. It's time for something to be happening. It's a pivotal moment. It's a critical moment for you to be showing up. If you're obedient, he's trying to use us. It's something happening. And I keep saying, like, it's this season where people are feeling like they're in transition, right? Things are shifting. It ain't the same you, right? Like, something's different right now. And this morning has given me such insight as to not the details of what's shifting, and a little bit of why. And the why that I could gather is such a time. It is such a time that things are about to change. And he is looking for a few good soldiers, a few right soldiers, who he's like, okay, I've trained you. You ready? You ready for battle? You ready for war? Are you ready? And it may be public, it may be private, spaces and places, but he is ready to deploy an army of us out there, because stuff is changing. I mean, it is changing. So that is the word. And I pray that you can find the markers in my journey, in what I've shared thus far, for your own journey. There are markers, right? Doing things that you don't know why you're doing them. Getting aligned, being obedient, even when you're tired, even when you don't want to. I mean, I went live one day with no video. I couldn't do it. That day I couldn't do it. I was still obedient though, but I couldn't show you the face that day, right? It has been a journey. Thank you, Father. And you push through, right? You ask for the strength. He will not ask us to do things he doesn't supply our energy for. Man, thank you, Father. Such a gracious God. Like, you just got to show up and be used. Really, it's so easy when you start the submission, but it's difficult when you fight it, right? In the beginning, just everything is like that. In the beginning, it's just, but once you get into it, once you get disciplined, once you get obedient, and then you just kind of fall in the line, right? It starts working. So look for the markers in my journey for your own journey, and understand just to stay in your lane. Stay what you're supposed to be doing. Get still if you need to hear from him. Pray, fast, journal, meditate, listen to gospel, listen to a word, listen to what you need to listen to get yourself where you need to get yourself, because all of our journeys are different. So have a productive, prosperous, beautiful day, and know that it really works. It really works. And there's more to this story, and everything in divine order. So at some point, I imagine I'll share, unless I'm told not to. So have a great day, people. Dr. Dominique out. Peace.